Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off our journey with this presentation on Scratch. Today, we'll explore what Scratch is and how it can help you create amazing projects. We'll cover the basics, some cool features, and how to get started. So let's dive in and discover the world of Scratch together. Let's take a closer look at the Scratch development section. Here, we're focusing on how to build your project step by step. We'll explore how choosing the right sprite is essential because it serves as your character or object in the animation. Once you've selected your sprite, you'll learn how to program its actions. This is where the fun begins, making your sprite move, react, or interact with other elements. We'll also see how selecting and customizing backgrounds helps set the scene and makes your project more engaging. As we go through these steps, remember that programming in Scratch is all about creativity and experimentation. You can try different motions, looks, and sounds to bring your ideas to life. The key is to understand how these components work together to make your project dynamic and exciting. By mastering these fundamentals, you'll be well on your way to creating polished animations and interactive stories. So, let's dive into how you can develop your Scratch projects from start to finish, making sure each element complements your overall idea. So, what exactly is Scratch? Well, Scratch is a free toolkit that you can program with, designed especially for kids. It allows them to create their own games, develop animated stories, and even craft interactive art. The best part is, once they've made their creations, they can share them easily with others over the internet. This connection fosters a sense of community and collaboration, which is really at the heart of what we're exploring today. Scratch isn't just about coding. It's about opening up a world of creative possibilities and encouraging young learners to express themselves and learn from each other. Now, let's take a closer look at the development of Scratch. It's actually being developed by the Lifelong Kindergarten Research Group at the MIT Media Lab. This group is well known for their innovative work in creative learning. They're working in collaboration with the KIDS Research Group at the UCLA Graduate School of Education and Information Studies. This partnership combines expertise from both institutions, ensuring that Scratch is not only technically robust, but also highly effective in engaging learners. Understanding who's behind Scratch helps us appreciate the thoughtful design and educational focus that goes into creating this platform. It's a great example of how collaboration across institutions can lead to powerful educational tools that align with our overall theme of fostering creativity and learning through technology. Let's get started. To open Scratch, you just need to visit the website at Scratch.mit.edu. Once you're there, look for the button that says Try It Out. Clicking on that will take you directly to the Scratch interface where you can begin creating your projects. This step is important because it gets you into the platform where you'll be able to explore, learn, and start coding. Remember, the overall theme of this presentation is about making coding accessible and fun, and Scratch is a perfect tool for that. So, take a moment to navigate to the site and click Try It Out. It's your first step into the world of coding. Now, let's dive into getting started with Scratch. Once you've opened Scratch, you should see this default screen. This is where your creative journey begins. The main workspace is designed to be user-friendly, with all the essential tools easily accessible. On the left, you'll find the Blocks palette, which contains all the coding blocks you'll use to create your projects. In the center, there's the Stage area, where your animations and interactions will take place. And on the right, you'll see the Scripting area, where you can drag and drop blocks to build your code. Familiarizing yourself with this layout is key to navigating Scratch smoothly. Remember, this interface is built to make coding approachable and fun, encouraging experimentation and learning as you go. So, take a moment to look around and get comfortable with the workspace. It's the foundation for all your future projects. All right, now let's take a look at some Scratch examples. First, go to View Projects. That's where all the projects are stored. Then, on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a section labeled Animation. Click on that to explore the different projects available. Take a moment to look through these examples. See what kinds of things people have created. This is a great way to get inspired and see the possibilities Scratch offers. As you browse, think about what you could do yourself. what kinds of animations or stories you might create. Remember, these examples are here to show you what's possible and help you understand the tools and features you can use. So, by exploring these projects, you're learning what you'll be able to do as you start creating your own. Now, let's talk about choosing your sprite. As you can see, the default sprite is this cute orange cat. But what exactly is a sprite? Well, a sprite is basically a small graphic that you can move around independently on the screen, which allows for animated effects and interactive stories. It's like giving your characters their own little personality and mobility. You have a couple of options here. You can pick a different sprite from the Scratch library, which has lots of fun and interesting characters ready to go. Or if you're feeling creative, you can draw your own sprite later on. For now, though, I recommend choosing one that's already created so you can start experimenting right away. Remember, this choice helps set the stage for your project and makes it more engaging. So, pick a sprite that excites you and gets you motivated to start programming. All right, now let's talk about choosing a sprite. To pick a sprite from the Scratch library, all you need to do is click on the folder with a sprite icon. This opens up a whole collection of characters and objects you can add to your project. If you decide you no longer want the current sprite, like the default cat, just click on it and select Delete. It's as simple as that. Remember, you can have more than one sprite in your animation, which means you can bring in multiple characters or objects to make your story more dynamic and interesting. This flexibility is one of the great things about working with Scratch. It really encourages creativity and experimentation. Now let's talk about resizing your sprite. You can easily make your sprite larger or smaller to fit your project's needs. To do this, look for the Grow Sprite and Shrink Sprite icons. These are your tools for resizing. Simply click on one of these icons, then click on your sprite. Keep clicking until you reach the size you like. This is a quick and easy way to adjust your sprite's appearance and make sure it fits perfectly within your scene. Remember, resizing helps you control the visual impact of your sprite, which is important for creating engaging and well-balanced animations. So, don't hesitate to experiment with different sizes until you find the perfect fit. All right, now let's talk about choosing your background. Right now, your project has a plain white background, which can feel a bit boring and uninspiring. But the good news is, you have options to make it more exciting and personalized. You can select a background from the Scratch library, which offers a variety of fun and colorful scenes. Or, if you're feeling creative, you can even create your own unique background from scratch. Remember, customizing your background helps make your project more engaging and aligns it with your story or theme. So, don't settle for plain when you have so many options to make your project stand out. All right, now let's move on to choosing a background for your project. First, you'll want to click on the button labeled New Backdrop. This is where the fun begins because it allows you to customize the environment behind your characters or objects. Once you've clicked that, a menu will appear, and you should select Choose Backdrop from Library. This option gives you access to a wide variety of pre-made backgrounds that you can easily browse through. The key here is to pick a background that complements your story or message, something that enhances the overall theme and keeps your audience engaged. Remember, the background sets the tone and context, so choose wisely. This step is important because the right backdrop can make your project more immersive and visually appealing. So, take your time exploring the options and select one that best fits what you're trying to achieve. Now, we're ready to program. At this point, you should have a sprite and a background that you'd like to work with. This is a great moment because it's where your creative ideas start coming to life through coding. Remember, the sprite is your character or object, and the background sets the scene or environment. Having both of these prepared means we can start adding actions, movements, and interactions. This step is key because it transitions us from setting up to actually programming behaviors. So, take a moment to make sure your sprite and background are just how you want them, and then we'll dive into making your project interactive. All right, now let's talk about how to start programming in Scratch. The first thing you want to do is double-click on the sprite you're going to work with. Once you've done that, go ahead and select the Scripts tab. It's important to have your sprite selected because that's the only thing you can animate or program at this point. The scripts area is really the heart of your programming. Think of it as the place where you build your program, kind of like putting together a puzzle. You do this by dragging and connecting programming blocks. These blocks are the building blocks of your code, and they allow you to tell your sprite what to do in a visual way. Remember, the key here is that this is how you bring your sprite to life, by creating sequences of commands using these blocks. So, make sure you're comfortable navigating this area, because it's where all the magic happens. This step is crucial in connecting your ideas to actual animations and interactions, which ties right into our overall goal of making engaging projects with Scratch. Now, if you look at the upper left-hand corner of your Scratch window, you'll see 10 buttons. Each of these buttons gives you access to different groups of programming blocks. These blocks are the building blocks of your program, and they're organized into categories to make it easier to find what you need. Today, we're going to start by exploring the motion blocks. These are the blocks that control movement, things like moving your sprite forward, turning, or changing its position on the screen. Understanding how these work is fundamental because they form the core of most programs involving movement or animation. So, as we experiment with these motion blocks, think about how they help bring your projects to life and how they connect to the larger idea of programming as a way to tell stories or create interactive experiences. All right, now let's talk about motion. When you click on the motion button, you'll see all the programming blocks that can control your sprite's movement. These blocks are the tools you'll use to make your sprite move around the screen. Think of them as your movement commands. First, we're going to program all of our sprites with the same code. This way, everyone will get a good idea of how motion works and how to control their sprite's movement. It's like setting a foundation, so we all start from the same place. Once we've done that, you'll have the chance to experiment on your own. Feel free to try out different blocks and see what kind of movement you can create. Remember, understanding motion is key because it brings your sprites to life and makes your projects more dynamic. So let's get started by coding our sprites together, and then I encourage you to explore and experiment with your own ideas. All right, let's explore motion. First, we'll drag out the Move 10 Steps block. Now, to make our sprite move farther, we change the number from 10 to 50. Just click on the number in the block and type 50. Once that's set, double-click on the block in the script area, and you'll see your sprite move 50 pixels to the right. Pretty cool, right? Remember, you can run any block by double-clicking on it. This is a great way to experiment and see exactly what each block does. It helps you learn how different commands affect your sprite. This approach connects to our overall theme of making coding fun and interactive. So, don't be afraid to try out different blocks and see the results firsthand. Let's talk about motion. You might already know that in programming, you can control how sprites move around the screen. Well, here's a neat trick. You can set the motion block to move a negative number of pixels. What does that mean? Essentially, if you type in a negative value, your sprite will move in the opposite direction. So instead of moving forward, it moves backwards. This is a simple yet powerful way to make your sprite's movement more dynamic and realistic. Remember, by using negative numbers, you're giving your sprite the ability to move backwards, which adds more depth to your animations and interactions. It's all about controlling movement precisely, and that's a key part of creating engaging projects. So let's dive into what a pixel actually is. We've been talking about pixels quite a bit, but what exactly is a pixel? Well, a pixel is one of the tiny building blocks that make up an image on your computer or TV screen. Think of it as a tiny dot that, when combined with many others, creates the pictures we see. The word pixel itself actually comes from blending two words, picture and element. It's like calling it a picture element, which makes sense because each pixel is a small part of the overall image. Understanding pixels is key because they are the fundamental units that determine the clarity and detail of digital images. As we continue, keep in mind that the more pixels you have, the sharper and more detailed the picture appears. All right, let's talk about the Scratch stage. The stage is the main area where your projects come to life, and it's exactly 480 pixels wide and 360 pixels high. Think of it as the stage in a theater. This is where all the action happens. When you're designing your projects, this size gives you a good sense of the space you're working with. You can imagine coordinates like -240 to 240 on the horizontal axis and -180 to 180 on the vertical axis, which helps you position your sprites precisely. This coordinate system is fundamental because it allows you to control where everything appears and moves on the stage. Understanding the dimensions and the coordinate system is key to creating smooth, well-placed animations and interactions. So keep in mind, the stage size guides how you set up your scenes and direct your sprites effectively. Now let's take the turn 15 degrees block and add it to the other part of our code. When you see that white bar between the two blocks, you can go ahead and release your mouse. That white bar is actually a signal. It means the blocks will snap together neatly. This snapping feature helps keep your code organized and makes sure everything stays in the right place. Remember, linking blocks correctly is key to making your program work smoothly. This step is part of building more complex behaviors, and it connects directly to how we can control motion precisely. So always look for that white bar. It's your cue that everything is aligned and ready to go. All right, let's talk about more motion. Here, you can really customize how your sprite moves. One key point is that you can change the number of degrees your sprite rotates by double-clicking in that area and typing in the exact number you want. This gives you precise control over the rotation. Also, if you double-click on the blocks, you can see your sprite move and rotate in action. This makes your animations more dynamic and personalized. Remember, experimenting with these options helps you better understand how motion works in your projects, which is essential as we build more complex animations. So, don't hesitate to try different degrees and see how your sprite reacts. It's a great way to learn and make your creations more engaging. All right, now we've only just scratched the surface of the motion category with just 2 blocks. But there are actually many more blocks in this category that can really bring your projects to life. For the next few minutes, I want you to experiment with all of the other motion blocks available. Don't worry if it feels a bit overwhelming at first. Just try them out, see what each one does, and have some fun with it. Remember, if you make a mistake or want to try something different, deleting code is as simple as dragging it from the script area back to the list. It's a quick way to reset and experiment freely. Depending on your group's experience level, this activity can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes. The key thing is to focus only on the motion category for now, so keep your questions related to this section. That way, you won't get overwhelmed trying to process too many concepts at once. This hands-on approach helps you understand how different motion blocks work and how they can be combined to create engaging animations. So go ahead, try out those blocks, see what kind of movement you can create, and most importantly, have fun exploring. All right, let's try using the events category now. The first block I want you to focus on is the when flag clicked block. What you need to do is drag this block out from the events palette and snap it right on top of the blocks you've already got in your script. This block is really important because it acts as the starting point for your program. It tells your project to begin when the green flag is clicked, which is a common way to start scripts in Scratch. By adding this, you're essentially giving your program a clear trigger to begin executing your code. Remember, this is a fundamental concept because it connects the user's action, clicking the flag, to the actions your sprite performs. So always keep an eye out for these event blocks, as they're the key to making your projects interactive and responsive. Now, instead of having to double-click on your block of code, you can just click on the flag icon to play your animation. This is a really useful feature because it simplifies the process and makes testing your animations much quicker. Instead of navigating through multiple steps, you simply hit the flag, and your animation runs immediately. This helps keep your workflow smooth and more intuitive, especially when you're making adjustments or experimenting with different ideas. It's a small change, but it really enhances how efficiently you can work with your code. Remember, this feature ties into the overall theme of making programming more accessible and user-friendly, so take advantage of these improvements to streamline your projects. Next, let's take a look at the looks category of programming buttons. This is a really fun area because it allows you to control how your sprite appears and behaves visually. With these tools, you can make your sprite speak by showing speech bubbles, think with thought bubbles, or even change its costume to give it different appearances. This helps bring your project to life and makes it more engaging for your audience. Remember, these visual effects are key to making your story or game more dynamic and expressive. So, as we continue, think about how you can use these looks options to enhance your own creations and keep your viewers interested. Now, let's talk about looks. A great way to make your sprite more engaging is by having it speak or think. Imagine giving your sprite a voice or a thought bubble. That really brings it to life. To do this, you'll want to choose a piece of code that makes your sprite say something or think. For example, you might use a say block to have your sprite say a message, or a think block to show what it's thinking. This is a simple yet powerful way to add personality and interaction to your project. Remember, making your sprite talk or think helps tell your story more clearly and keeps your audience engaged. So, experiment with these blocks and see how they can enhance your animation. Now, let's move on to the next fun step. Try changing your sprite's costume to see how different looks can give your project a fresh feel. To do this, go to the Costume tab. Then, click on Choose Costume from Library. This will open up a variety of options, allowing you to select a new look for your sprite. Exploring different costumes is a great way to make your project more engaging and personalized. Remember, customizing appearances can really enhance the storytelling and creativity in your project, tying into our overall theme of making coding fun and expressive. Now, let's talk about looks. In this step, you want to add a command to your code that says, Switch Costume to. This is really important because it allows your sprite to change its appearance, giving your project more personality and interactivity. By switching costumes, you can make your sprite act differently, look different, or even show different emotions or states. Think of it as giving your character a new outfit or a different expression to match what's happening in your story or game. Connecting this to the overall theme, customizing looks helps make your project more dynamic and engaging for anyone who's watching or interacting with it. So, always remember to include the switch costume to block when you want your sprite to change its appearance at the right moments. All right, now that we've got our animation set up, let's talk about adding sound to really bring it to life. There are actually several ways to include sound in your project. Today, we're going to start by exploring one simple method, choosing a sound from the Scratch library. This is a great way to quickly add audio effects or background sounds without needing any external files. It's also a perfect starting point as we learn how sound can enhance our animations and make them more engaging. Remember, sound can help tell a story, set the mood, or even give feedback to the viewer. So, by experimenting with the Scratch library, you're taking an important step toward creating more dynamic and captivating projects. All right, let's look at how to add sounds to our sprite. First, you'll want to select the sprite you want to give sound to. Once you've clicked on it, go to the Sounds tab. Now, under the section labeled New Sound, you'll see an option called Choose Sound from Library. Clicking on this opens up a library of sounds you can browse through. This is a great way to quickly add audio without needing to upload your own. Remember, adding sounds can really make your project more engaging and lively. This step connects to our overall goal of creating interactive and fun projects by giving your sprites a voice. So, take your time exploring the library and find sounds that fit your animation perfectly. Now, let's take a look at the Scratch Sound Library. Here, you'll find different categories of sounds that you can easily incorporate into your animation projects. These sounds are readily available within the Scratch library, making it simple to add audio effects without needing to create or find sounds elsewhere. Using these categories helps you quickly find the right sound for your scene or character, whether it's a fun effect, background music, or a specific noise. Incorporating sounds from the library not only enhances the overall experience, but also keeps your project organized and efficient. Remember, sound is a powerful tool to bring your animations to life and engage your audience even more. Once you've found a sound that you like, simply select it and click OK. When you do that, you'll see the sound you chose appear under the New Sound section. It's pretty flexible. You can import any WAV or MP3 sound files you want, which really opens up a lot of creative possibilities. Remember, adding the right sound can really enhance your presentation and make it more engaging. So, take your time exploring different options and importing sounds that fit your message perfectly. This step is all about customizing your presentation to better connect with your audience through audio. Now, let's move on to slide 34, titled Play Your Sound. If you want to get a quick preview of your sound, simply click on the play button. This feature allows you to listen to your sound directly within the tool, so you can hear exactly what it will sound like during your presentation. It's a handy way to make sure everything is just right before finalizing. Remember, hearing your sound in advance helps you catch any issues early, like volume levels or background noise. So, take advantage of this feature to ensure your audio complements your content perfectly. This step is all about making your presentation more engaging and professional by controlling your sound quality. All right, now that we've got our animation set up, it's time to bring it to life with sound. To do that, we'll start by clicking on the Script tab. Once we're there, select the sprite that you want to add sound to. This step is important because it ensures you're working with the right element of your project. After selecting the sprite, look for the Sound button and click on it. This is where you'll find all the sound options available to enhance your animation. Remember, adding sound can really make your project more engaging and help convey your message more effectively. So, make sure to choose sounds that complement your animation and support your overall theme. All right, now let's move on to adding sound to our project. First, you'll want to select one of the blocks that says, Play Sound, on your screen. Once you've chosen the block, you'll see a drop-down menu where you can select your sound. Simply click on the current sound name and a list will appear. From there, you can pick the sound you want to use. This step is important because it allows you to customize your project with audio that enhances the overall experience. Remember, selecting the right sound can really bring your project to life and make it more engaging for your audience. So take your time, choose the appropriate sound, and you'll be all set to add that extra layer of interactivity. All right, now let's talk about recording a sound. To do this, simply click on the Record button. Once you do that, you'll see a red button appear. Click on this red button to start recording your sound. When you're finished, just click on the square to stop the recording. It's that easy. One important thing to remember is that you can give your sound a custom name. Just type over the default name to rename it. This helps keep everything organized, especially if you're working with multiple sounds. This step is key because adding audio can really bring your project to life and make it more engaging. So, don't hesitate to experiment with recording and nomming your sounds to enhance your overall presentation. Now, let's talk about how you can really bring your animations to life by incorporating sound. When I click the flag, watch what happens. Our animated boy will move, and at the same time, a drum will play. This is a simple but powerful way to add depth and engagement to your project. By syncing sounds with actions, you make your animations more dynamic and interesting. Remember, the key here is timing, making sure the sound matches the movement to create a seamless experience. So, as you build your animations, think about how sounds can enhance the story you're telling. This is a great way to make your projects more lively and captivating for your audience. All right, now let's talk about the presentation mode. When you're working on your slides, you'll notice a rectangle button on the left-hand side of your screen. Clicking this button will make your animation fill the entire screen, giving you a true full-screen view of your presentation. It's a great way to see how your slides will look during the actual presentation. And when you're ready to exit this full-screen mode, just click that same rectangle button again, this time located at the top left of your screen. It's a simple toggle, but an important one to remember. This feature helps you get a better sense of your presentation flow and visuals, which ties into the overall theme of engaging your audience effectively. So, mastering this mode ensures your delivery is smooth and professional. Now, let's talk about using the pen tools. When you activate the pen tool, your sprite essentially becomes your writing instrument. This means that whatever you draw or write with the pen will be directly linked to your sprite's actions. One of the great things about the pen is that you can customize it. You can change its color to match your design or message, adjust its shade for different effects, and even tweak its size to make your strokes thicker or thinner. This flexibility allows you to create more dynamic and visually appealing content. Remember, The key idea here is that the pen tool transforms your sprite into a versatile tool for drawing and annotation, helping you communicate ideas more effectively. So, don't hesitate to experiment with these options to enhance your presentations and make your visuals stand out. All right, let's talk about using the pen. When you activate this tool, your sprite essentially becomes your pen, allowing you to draw as it moves. To do this, you need to attach the pen down block to your code, which tells your sprite to start drawing. It's pretty straightforward, but an important thing to remember is to use the pen up block when you want your sprite to stop drawing. That way, you can control exactly when and where your sprite creates lines or shapes. This is a key concept because it gives you the ability to create more complex and interesting drawings or patterns, which ties into the overall theme of making your projects more interactive and visually engaging. So, keep in mind, choosing the right moments to put the pen down or lift it up is what allows your sprite to draw precisely when you want it to. Now, let's explore how to use the pen tool effectively. One of the fun features is that you can change the color of your pen by typing in different numbers. For example, if you type 0, the pen will be white, which can be useful for erasing or highlighting specific areas. Typing 70 will give you red, perfect for drawing attention or making annotations stand out. If you want to work with green, enter 130, and for blue, use 170. This way, you have a quick and easy way to switch colors without digging through menus. Remember, these numbers correspond to specific colors in the palette, so experimenting with different values can give you a variety of shades. This feature is especially helpful for making your presentations more dynamic and engaging, as you can quickly adapt your visuals to emphasize key points or add a personal touch. The key takeaway here is that by mastering these color codes, you can enhance your annotations and make your message clearer and more visually appealing. All right, everyone, it's time to have some fun. Now that we've covered the fundamentals, I want you to get creative and make your own original animations or games. This is your chance to apply what you've learned in a fun and engaging way. When you create something really cool, I definitely want to see it, so don't hesitate to share your work. Remember, the goal here is to experiment, explore, and enjoy the process. This is how you truly solidify your skills and make learning memorable. So go ahead, unleash your creativity, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.